it's a unique environment to work with a real range of ages as well. You know, we have interns with us at like 17, 18, all the way through, and then we have specialists in their 70s and 80s. So it's a real wonderful mix of ages.
Yeah, I mean, India and lots of Southeast Asia have become very, very popular collecting areas. That's certainly a trend that we've noticed recently.
So I do understand collectors and can relate to them, and again, that's why that interest for auction houses and then the interest in the hunt for something, I really do understand.
Dear viewers, welcome to another episode of Philacastu. Today I'm joined by Thomase Fela and Joshe Barbera. Gentlemen, please welcome.
Thank you.
You are heads of the department at the Spink and Son Limited. How would you describe your roles at the firm?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we share the role, and on paper I do the Great Britain side of things. Josh does the British Commonwealth, but in reality there's quite a lot of overlap. But our sort of day-to-day work can be really varied, which is, for me anyway, why I like it so much. We get to interact with our clients internationally. We describe stamps, we organise the auctions, we eventually sell the stuff on the rostrums. We go up there with the hammer.
Exactly. I think the nice thing for myself, but I think for both of us, is we've both worked for Spink for quite a number of years in different roles, in junior roles and varying roles, and for other auction houses as well. So I think that's an advantage dealing with clients as well as handling the material that
So you've got the experience.
Both sort of literally packing stamps and sending them in the mail, to dealing with angry clients on the phone, to auctioneering, to auctioneering as well. You know, every role in an auction house we've had a little bit of a play with, so it's quite fun to have had that background and now be able to sort of help train others in the auction house.
Yeah, wonderful. I actually saw some of your videos online because during the COVID pandemic you did some online viewing for the auctions. So was that part of your job, or is it part of your job nowadays in your positions?
We haven't done it quite so much in recent years because thankfully now we're out of the pandemic. People can come to us. But we do try and sort of stay ahead of the curve in terms of technology. So I guess we've pushed our efforts now more into the online bidding side of things, so that people all over the world can bid with us no matter where they are. And we do videos of our sort of collection lots. So let's say we're offering something that's written up on pages. All as one lot. We can video it and upload it to our website, which means that people can. But in the pandemic years, obviously, sadly, people couldn't come and literally turn the stamps over and look at the gum and everything. So we came up with that idea then.
I actually think it's wonderful because
we should maybe do it more often.
I mean, I really think that the non-philatelic people or people who come into philately who are not that good with computers, for example, and who really want to have that personal approach would really appreciate that.
It's a good point. Maybe we should go back to it.
Yes, I think we do as an auction house across the departments. We do still try and do regular videos, and that's something we need to do more of, because you're right, it's a nice way to engage with the viewers. They're able to put a face to our names as well. We're not just in the catalogues or online, but we're real live people.
It's more personalised.
Yes, exactly. And
I think some of the younger audience is on the social media or on YouTube or something. So it's important we do that.
You mentioned that you had some previous experiences before joining Spink. So how did you actually get into philately?
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I've had quite a few different roles for stamp philatelic auction houses, but prior to that, I had a general role for an auction house that was sort of more administrative. I was dealing with invoicing and photographing the items, getting things ready for auction. But it was an auction house that sold more general things, furniture, some paintings, but mainly furniture and household items.
Collectibles.
Yes, exactly. But I just enjoyed the focus and the interest of an auction house, the variety of things you had, you're handling history, the variety of clients you have, and then the excitement of an auction day itself when everything hopefully sells. And then I happened to be looking for a role when I moved to London, and the first job I got was with Stanley Gibbons. So again, I was doing it's very background role, administration, clerking for auctions, that kind of thing. But it was a nice insight, and I must admit I didn't know anything about philately before that, so I was new, so I can relate to anyone that is starting to get an interest in it.
Because that is the usual story behind philately, that my father did that and that. I actually discovered an album on a roof or something, on a rooftop. So it's just sometimes really random. So.
Well, hopefully we're both sort of sources of encouragement for people who want to get into stamps, because my story is very similar. I started working in auction houses in my hometown. I'm not originally from London, and like Josh, just kind of fell in love with the world of auctions, the people you meet, the things you see. Didn't know anything about stamps per se, but I'd studied history and had a sort of working knowledge of British imperial history, which obviously goes hand in hand with a lot of stamps. And then got the job at Spink, and I think we're both very lucky to be working at Spink because we have lots of old, experienced specialists who are very, very generous with their knowledge, and we've been able, over the past 7-8 years, to soak that up and utilise it in our work. But no, neither of us came from stamps, but you can make a career in it. You can learn speciality, even if you don't come from a family of stamps. Wonderful.
So, in your own experience, what is the most memorable memory that you've got over the years? Like, probably something to do with the client, for example, or is there any moment that you were like, oh yeah, this is actually really nice, or oh god, I really didn't want this to happen.
Maybe it was like the first time, like one of our specialists showed me something and they were passionate about it. So when I really first started and I didn't really know much about it, I think it was David Parsons, who was a very fine specialist who worked for Spink, and Christie's and Robson Lowe all the way back through the generations of our company, who's sadly no longer with us, but he took probably us both actually into the back room and just showed us a collection. It was like, this is how you collect, this is how I'm going to work on it, these are my favourite things in there. And that was infectious. That was a nice moment for sure.
I believe so.
Yeah, that's very nice. I was going to say something similar, but so that's one side of it which I also really love and still do have those moments. I think it's a unique environment to work with a real range of ages as well. You know, we have interns with us at like 17, 18 all the way through, and then we have specialists in their 70s and 80s. So it's a real wonderful mix of ages. But another thing that I still get excited by is the places around the world you get to travel. You know, I sometimes will be talking to friends like, so I'm just going to Prague tomorrow, I'm going to be Liberec tomorrow. Or I've been this year, I've been in Australia, I've been in America, you know, and I remember one of my first big trips when I was with Spink was suddenly to a big exhibition in Sweden. And it was it was an amazing exhibition. The King of Sweden came, and you're suddenly looking around and at these world rarities. Meeting interesting people. And so I think that's another thing that keeps me interested, the variety of people and the places.
So how would you explain philately to someone who's absolutely new to the study and to the topic? What would you say that, you should do this, you should do that, you should follow Spink online?
I mean, to someone new to the hobby, perhaps from a younger generation, I always equate it to like the desire to want to collect something. And we've all done it as kids, I think, collected, no matter what it is, something off the beach, football stickers, toy cars or something. But this is something that you can take all the way through your life with you. There's so much scope and depth of research where there isn't obviously in the juvenile collecting. It's something you can do at every level, but also really develop it and have it with you. I mean, a lot of our collectors started collecting when they were really young, and they've had it all the way through their life as a kind of life companion.
That's a really nice way of saying it.
Thanks.
Yeah. And also I think another aspect you can appeal to people with is sort of your own sort of history and background. So you might be able to, we know a lot of collectors that collect based on sort of where their parents were born or their grandparents were working at the time or something. It might have been as part of, the imperial past, or it might be, that they, their parents were from Sri Lanka or their parents are from Australia or something. And so you can study the history of your family and your background through postal history, through stamps. So I think that's quite another exciting way of really does sort of open your eyes to the history, good and bad, of a country.
Good and bad. That's actually a really good point.
The great thing with the modern industry as well is that everything is online now. You go to our website and you'll be able to see all our previous auctions and most of the time PDFs of our catalogues. So there's a lot of research you can do online, even without receiving catalogues and so on. So I think it's quite an accessible hobby.
Absolutely,
these days.
I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
So is there one part of philately that you really particularly enjoy? I mean, is there a part of history or a period of history?
I really enjoy like the Victorian period of Great Britain. Because it was the development of modern communication essentially. They were very imaginative people, and you see lots of their quirky characteristics, their passion and desire for moving forward technology and industry in the postal artifacts. That would be my favourite.
Yeah, I think there's a few areas. One is the sort of the history, early letters going back and forth from during the imperial past of Britain. I think, like I mentioned just now, obviously a lot of that is, is not a good history. It's not a nice past to dwell on, but it's important that it's recorded, and the very fact we can do the research, and a lot of these letters, the contents are still there, so people are able to sort of shine a light on what was going on at the time.
Absolutely.
And both people that agreed with what was going on, people that felt very alien to them and they didn't want to be part of it. But having these things recorded, and the very fact that people have wanted to collect them over the years has made sure that we still have those records, whether that's in private collections or in museums.
I noticed on your website that you have some connections to the Royal Society and the local and international clubs based in London or in the UK. What is the relationship like between the Spink and Son Limited and those clubs? We have close ties to both the Royal Philatelic Society, and we also try and support a lot of the smaller societies as well. Obviously, each collecting area has its own specialist area, but just mentioning the Royal Philatelic Society for a while, that's obviously one of the largest and has a global sort of following and list of members and fellows, and with that we try to be both financial supporters, but also we have auctions regularly at the Royal Philatelic Society. We use their venue, which is nice, as a different venue for us. It makes a nice change, but also, as I said, because a lot of members are also buyers and sellers through us. That's one connection we have.
Yeah, and we try and support as many study groups as we can, even smaller ones, just through advertising in their journals and things like that. And some societies will actually use our office space as well to hold their meetings, like the Malaya study group, who I'm quite involved with, use the showroom in our office to hold their meetings, which is nice. It's nice to be able to support smaller societies.
Because
as well.
you support the small societies, but you also are creating a community behind all of this. So.
Yeah, and hoping to sustain the community.
So do these kind of events bring new customers?
They're often people that we know already. It's not always the sort of end goal in any case. It's just to, like I say, to support and maintain closeness as well. Make sure that, Spink are the people they think of.
How active actually is Spink and Son? Do you guys of course, in Liberec you've got your stand here, but what are your other activities?
We travel quite extensively around the globe. We were in Monaco, of course, in December, and you've been across to Australia, more recently in America. So we try and attend as many overseas exhibitions as we can, and recognise that ultimately this is a hobby for our collectors, and they want to have fun and meet people and see things in person. So a lot of that means that we end up travelling in order to see our clients face to face, and you know, a lot of people we maybe haven't seen throughout the year. It's always nice to be able to either meet with them again or put a face to the name rather, from the email addresses that we see usually.
So do these kinds of trips help you to gain new customers or sellers or customers in general?
Yes, it definitely does that as well. It's a bit of both. It's sort of maintaining existing relationships, people that we know are regular buyers, potential buyers and sellers through us that we will sort of meet up with, like Tom says, and it's a way of re-engaging. But often it's, we will meet new people as well. That's why often we do take booths at exhibitions all around the world, especially as younger members of the team. It would have been in the past maybe our senior specialists that we mentioned earlier on that collectors would know. So it's good for us to get known, to see that we're now sort of filling those shoes now. And we do meet and find new collectors along the way on these trips.
Wonderful. So from your perspective, what are the biggest trends on the market as of now?
Sorry, do you mean like the most popular countries?
Well, most popular countries, or what are the trends in general? I mean, are new people coming in, or what sort of customers, or what sort of customers are you having?
I mean, we have obviously lots of existing customers, which is great, and it's lovely to see that there's longevity in the hobby, but also new client bases in Asia a lot. I mean, we have an office in Hong Kong that is very useful.
And you actually moved your headquarters to the Asia?
We have a strong office in Hong Kong, and I think probably equal parts Hong Kong and London in terms of doing business, but. Yeah, I mean, India and lots of Southeast Asia have become very, very popular collecting areas. That's certainly a trend that we've noticed recently.
I think also, sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay.
I think also a nice thing that what we've seen is obviously there are still the sort of traditional philatelists that collect one area and collect to exhibit in a specific way, but there's quite a lot of non-traditional collecting now. People collecting quite sort of outside of the box, thinking. Quite fresh thinking in the way they collect, and we're noticing people really with a real desire for very high quality and very rare items from across the globe, which is nice, because obviously these things are very rare. They can be very expensive, but obviously you need buyers to maintain this, and also often these things get hidden away otherwise. So. If they're then bought by people that want to exhibit them and show them to people, it's a way for all collectors to be able to see these world rarities.
In terms of, for example, age of the customers, would you say that there are, for example, people aged 20 to 30 years old that are new to philately and that they are actually buying philatelic items?
There are certainly fewer in that age bracket. Not to say that they're not collecting and buying in some way, but I think certainly at Spink we sell generally quite high value stamps, and I think people come to that more naturally in their sort of middle years, once they've made some money professionally and have already been collecting. I mean, that being said, there are still younger collectors in their 20s to 30s, but they're still sort of probably in the minority, and people really getting serious about it from their 40s into the 60s, I would say.
There are some noticeable sums of money that Spink has accomplished throughout your auctions. Have you got an experience with that in terms of Have you got, I don't know, for example, a memory that when you were selling something so valuable, it actually expected your expectations?
Definitely. I mean, we usually it happens in kind of one auction. There's a one particularly strong auction that's just really attracted a lot of people's attention. And I think back to named sales like the Doyen collection. I mean, there are countless. The Nathan collection we had more recently, where you just hit the market at the right time. And that's the beauty of auctions, is that you know, you have 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 bidders who really need the thing, and you can have a fantastic sale day on the day. And it happens, thankfully, more often than not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the nice thing is the market is always changing. So we've had years where we've struggled to sell a certain area, and obviously that not so great. But then suddenly, you know, a year later, other collectors will have emerged, and we'll, you know, we'll have a great year selling those same things that we struggled to sell a year ago, that sort of thing. So that's quite interesting. Also, India, as we mentioned earlier, is always quite an exciting area for us to sell at the moment. That market is very strong. So when we have either a specialised India sale or an Asia sale with the focus of India, we've had some really exciting prices that just the bidding just keeps going. And obviously that's a very exciting feeling for both the seller and for us as the auction house.
Of course. So have you got any predictions for the philatelic market and that sort of business?
Good question. I think Great Britain, which is my area, has had its down days in recent history. But from my experience at Spink, it's starting to pick up a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if more collectors come into this area of classic philately that has been a little forgotten over the past 5-10 years, and it starts to catch up again with some of the colonial classics. I mean, my prediction for the next 5 to 10 years, let's say.
Oh yeah. How about you, Josh?
I feel very positive about some areas of come, but I think some areas it's changing. The market's definitely changing. As sort of alluded to earlier, there are times when people collected very specifically, very academically, maybe one small subject or area, even more specific than that. That's changing, and maybe not so many people doing that. But for great rarities, for very important sort of covers with, you know, mixed frankings or unusual destinations, the big sort of high value Commonwealth items that there are very few of. If the condition's very good, we're seeing even stronger prices than we've seen for a long time. So I think the market, it's changing for sure, but in many areas they're still very reassuring, and there are people that understand rarity and the importance of quality.
Do you yourselves collect any philatelic items or any particular part of history? Because you mentioned the Victorian era, so are you collectors as well?
There are certain things I would look out for, but in the UK we have an expression, the busman's holiday, meaning like the bus driver doesn't take the bus to go on holiday, you know, because it's not holiday. So I try and limit my sort of philatelic involvement in my private life for the moment and just maintain professional. That being said, it's hard sometimes because you see amazing things and you get ideas. So I'm from a small town in Cornwall originally, and I look for Victorian mail from my hometown, but it would be by no means described a collection. It's just when I can't help myself sometimes.
How about you, Josh? Yeah,
again, I don't really collect philatelically anyway. I definitely am a collector. I love I collect more based on natural history. I have a lot of things like that at home that's more of a cohesive collection. But so I do understand collectors and can relate to them. And again, that's why that interest for auction houses and then the interest in the hunt for something, I really do understand. I do have a few items similar to Tom. I have a few covers with interesting postmarks, but hasn't developed into a proper collection yet.
So would you say that you will pursue that sort of philatelic approach in following years? You know, that building, for example, one frame exhibition or something like that?
I think so, yes.
Quite possibly,
I can see myself doing that for sure.
I need a bit more time probably. Right now we're both very busy with work, so it's hard to make the time outside of it to work on it. But I do have a kind of vision of what I would like to do one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And being my guest.
No, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for watching this episode of Philacastu, and I'll be seeing you next time.